Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And actually, I don't know what I'm supposed to call you, so I'll just call you Mr. Speaker, if that's all right. You're good with that?
Deputy.
The Deputy Speaker. That's good. Eh? I'm honored to stand here today and say that I will be supporting Mr. Sub-Deputy Speaker, is what I'm being told by the Minister of Justice. But I'm here to say that I'm in support of our budget that was presented by our Finance Minister last week, and I won't be supporting the amendment put forward by the member from Regina Rosemont. I'm sure that comes as no surprise. And before I begin my remarks, I'd like to thank a few people. You know, many hands make light work, and the people that are around me and surround me are very kind, caring people who help lift us up and make sure that we can come here and do the work that we do here every day. I have to start with my partner Donna Lynn. You know, she looks after everything as we're down here. She looks after the house and makes sure the kids get to where they need to go and make sure that the bills are all paid. And I'm very blessed that I can just come home and things are looked after. I have to do my part, but that part is very small in comparison to what she does, especially for our three daughters. You know, we've got Abby, who is in grade 9 and is doing well, although today was her first day. She got braces today, so she's feeling a little self-conscious, but she's pretty happy that she has them, and she's doing great at school. She's working towards being on the honor roll, so I'm very proud of Abigail, and I hope that she'll complete her goal. And then we've got Danielle, who also today got braces. So we had two big bills in our household today, and so I'm looking forward to seeing pictures of them, although they probably won't be. And Danielle is a fantastic soccer player. She's really excelling at playing soccer, and everybody had their tryouts this weekend, and I'm sure that she's going to continue to excel in her sport. And then we've got Rebecca, and she's in grade 6 this year, and looking forward to coming down here next year and seeing her stepdad at work and learning a bit more about the legislative process. She's a pretty big keener. She's a pretty smart kid, and is always looking for extra work and helping the teacher at recess and at lunchtime, and looking for stuff to do. So I don't know where that really comes from, because she doesn't. I don't set a very good example for her, but she's a hard worker and also an excellent soccer player. So between our house and the soccer center and the fields around our schools, we don't get to see much else other than that. So of course they all chip in and look after things when I'm away. The people that work here in the building, in the caucus office, ever since I've been blessed to be the caucus chair, we have a great group of folks that really help us and lift us up, and I know that they've drawn the attention of the member from Saskatoon Centre a few times, and you see, I got you in there. Every speech I have to make sure that I recognize the member from Saskatoon Centre for the comments he made. I don't know, it might have been a couple of years ago now that he made a comment that our staff was lacking in their research, and I say that nothing could be further from the truth, Mr. Speaker. It's a privilege to work with them and for them, and they turn out great material for us. So there's John, and there's Paula, Haley, Taylor, Carly, Kim, Lee, and Keenan. They are the bedrock behind this team that you see here, and I wouldn't feel right if I didn't thank all those folks there. My constituency assistant Madeline looks after me very well, and we're well served by the things that she does in my office in Saskatoon, and I would have to echo the member from Moosomin when he said that when people come to us, we all know that they're not at the best place usually of their lives, and they're looking for help. And some of the stories are heartbreaking, Mr. Speaker. And Madeleine has that excellent way of giving empathy and listening to their stories and listening to their problems and going, above and beyond where a lot of people would to try to help. She just has that heart of gold, and you can see that with her sideline. She is a cat foster parent, and I've never even heard of something like that. But when a cat needs a home, she looks after it, and then when it's ready to be adopted, she lets it go. So she's got a she's got a heart of gold in that way, and she's very organized. So I have to thank Madeleine. And then where would we be without our mothers? My mom is a really strong support. I've spoken about her in this place before, and she supports me, whatever I do. However, when she also holds me accountable, and as a constituent as well as your mom, it's kind of unnerving when you have to answer the phone and she invites you over for dinner, especially if you've made a few decisions that she doesn't agree with, and you have to answer not only to a constituent but to your mom. It's a tough conversation, but we have those, and family dinners are a little bit more fun now than they were a couple of years ago, Mr. Speaker. And she always supports me in everything I do. So the most importantly, though, Mr. Speaker, is the constituents of Saskatoon University, who I think are some of the brightest and smartest and most engaged constituents in the province. Mr. Speaker, they never miss an opportunity to let me know what they're thinking or how they feel that some decisions that we've made affect them, and what they think of those, whether it's in the Sobeys or in the Mac store close to my place. They don't have a problem stopping, and I actually enjoy that, Mr. Speaker. We can disagree and we can talk about different decisions that have been made here in this place, and it's always respectful, and they let me know when they're happy, and they let me know when they're not as happy, and thankfully the last year or so they've been more happy than not, and so I'm happy. I'm privileged and I'm blessed to be able to serve those people in Saskatoon University. Now, I had the pleasure of speaking to the budget, not last year, but the year before. That time, we were meeting the challenge, and then we were on track, and now I'm proud to say that we have the right balance, and that's a significant milestone in the path that we had set 3 budget cycles ago under former Premier Bradwell in order to right the ship and get the right balance for the people of Saskatchewan. And I'm proud to say that we've done that. And here we are today, Mr. Deputy Speaker, with a balanced budget, and it's the right balance for the people of Saskatchewan. We had a plan, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and we followed that plan step by step. And yeah, it wasn't very popular when we started down this path. There was tough decisions to make, and everybody, everybody, I have to say, pulled their weight, tightened their belt, and got into the spirit of it. It was uncomfortable, Mr. Speaker, and they weren't really good discussions for the most part, especially with my mom. There were some decisions we made that she didn't like, but thankfully the people of Saskatchewan saw what we were trying to do, and they saw that we had a plan, and they had faith in the government, and everybody pulled together. We tried not to affect too many people, but we knew we were going to. We tried not to affect industries or business, but we also knew we were going to. But we kept our eye on that goal, and we made those decisions, and here we are today, Mr. Speaker, with a balanced budget. Now, those decisions that were made a couple or 3 years ago and leading up to to this budget, it's in stark. It's in stark comparison to the opposition, Mr. Speaker. They were claiming to be the government in waiting, and I don't see that they had a plan then. I don't see that they had a plan a year ago, and I don't see that they have a plan now. All we hear is you need to spend more on health, education, and social services. Yes, I agree. There is never enough resources to meet every single need, Mr. Speaker. I think we all would agree on that. But you need to do it while balancing the budget and not increasing taxes or fees or the things that actually bring in revenue. And so I don't know if the proper expression was, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. So I don't see a plan coming from over there, and I also don't see a grasp, and I've heard this from 2 or 3 members, especially the member from Regina Northeast, about understanding debt versus deficit. And so I'll take a couple of minutes here to try to explain a little bit of that. So whenever you're going to buy a new house, Mr. Speaker, you go and you have a certain amount of money that you can put down, and then you go to the bank and you ask for a loan. And I don't know many people who have actually bought a house with cash. I don't know, maybe the member from Regina Rosemont did, but I know that I couldn't, certainly. And so you get a loan from the bank, if it's a 25-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage, and then you make payments on that house, and at the end of it all, you end up with an asset. You end up with a house. So that's debt. While you're paying off that house, while you're gaining, I forget the word, equity. There, thanks, thank you. While you're getting equity in the house, you're making your payments, and that's debt, and that's good debt. I think everybody would agree that that's good debt. So when you build hospitals, or when you build highways, or when you build schools, there's going to be debt. You don't have enough money to pay for those things right off the bat. Then you talk about a deficit. And I think, if there's one thing that the opposition should know about, it's the deficit. And deficit spending, operational deficit spending, we like to call it the big orange credit card, Mr. Speaker. And that's when, if you're bringing in a certain amount of money and your day-to-day expenses are taking up more than the money that you've got, that's when you start getting operational debt. And that is a problem, Mr. Speaker, because you will never, it's a structural debt. You will never, ever have enough revenue to pay what you're spending every year. And that's a problem. And that's a deficit. And that also adds to the debt. But that is bad debt. That's credit card debt, and that's something that we are not doing in this budget. When we talk about borrowing money to build infrastructure, that's highways, that's schools, that's hospitals, long-term care facilities. When we talk about that, we also have this thing called a sinking fund, Mr. Speaker. And on page 50 of the budget document, we talk about sinking funds, and I hear the member from Regina Rosemont talking about it as well, so I'm sure that he knows what I'm talking about. Sinking funds, and those are monies that are set aside for the orderly retirement of a portion of the government's debt. So that's what we call a capital plan. You buy something, you go into debt to pay for it, and then you pay it off. Sinking funds as of March 31st, 2019, Mr. Speaker, are $2.23 billion. So that is a plan to pay back the capital spend that we're making to buy or to build highways, to build hospitals, to build long-term care facilities. That fund is our capital plan to repay that debt, and it's going to grow every year. For 2019, 2020, sinking funds are expected to increase by $208 million to almost $2.5 billion. And that's due to the estimated level of sinking fund contributions for the year. Now, don't take my explanation for it. It's right here. So it's right in the budget.
What page?
Page 50. Page 50. So you guys can take a look at it all you want, and you can read it again. And if you need more, further explanation, I'm here, as well as the Minister of Finance to explain it all, to everyone here, as well. So, yeah, we take a look at BC. BC is a pretty fiscally responsible province. And Mr. Speaker, it's an NDP government in BC. So this year, they've got a balanced budget. Actually, they've got a little bit of a surplus. AAA credit rating, Mr. Speaker. Here's what we go. Here's how BC is doing, Mr. Speaker. They are going to borrow $5 billion this year. $5 billion they're going to borrow this year to build infrastructure. Once again, hospitals, schools, highways, and long-term care facilities. They're going to build all of this infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, and they're going to borrow $5 billion for that. Next year, Mr. Speaker, they're going to borrow another $5 billion or more to build hospitals, highways, long-term care facilities, and schools. Now that's BC, and they have an NDP government there, Mr. Speaker, so apparently it's not all bad. Debt apparently isn't bad. So we'll carry on from there. Mr. Speaker, I was listening to the member from Regina Northeast, and he was talking about his electric car, and I commend him for it, actually, for driving an electric car. Good on you, and good on that. But I have to correct something. So he mentioned that other members here had talked about him using the electricity at this building to charge his car, and that wasn't fair. And I agree. I agree that that isn't fair. There isn't a gas pump set up outside for those that don't drive electric cars to just fill up when they'd like to, and maybe, well, you know what? Maybe there is. I haven't seen it yet, so I haven't used it. So I haven't written a check to the Minister of Finance for the fuel for my car because I don't do that. Now, that's admirable that the member from Regina Northeast has done that, but to compare that to plugging in our computers or our lights or our laptops or anything like that, Mr. Speaker, that's disingenuous, and I felt that something needed to be said about that. If we're going to fuel up our cars on the taxpayers' dollar, then fair enough. Then we'll have a gas pump installed out here, or not. So anyway, I just thought I had to say a little bit of something about that. In Saskatoon University, as the name suggests, we have the University of Saskatchewan. And, we have made some tremendous strides in trying to make sure that the university is a good place to learn and is innovative and nurture our youth. So this budget, we maintain the operating grants for the University of Saskatchewan as well as all other universities and technical schools. We're going to invest $728 million to ensure that Saskatchewan's post-secondary institutions are sustainable now and into the future. We're increasing funding for the Student Financial Assistance Program, thereby ensuring that students can get help when they pursue their post-secondary studies. There's upfront grants of up to $4,000 per year in combined federal and Saskatchewan assistance for a typical full-time student. There's $7 million for scholarships, Mr. Speaker, such as the Saskatchewan Advantage Scholarship and the Saskatchewan Innovation and Opportunity Scholarship. And the Saskatchewan Advantage Scholarship will be converted to a needs-tested support. In addition, students will continue to receive benefits after their studies through the Graduate Retention Program, which provides Saskatchewan income tax credits of up to $20,000 for tuition fees paid by graduates who live and work in Saskatchewan. Also in Saskatoon University, Mr. Speaker, we have the brand new Jim Pattison's Children's Hospital. It'll be opening in the fall of 2019. Yes, that's a big thing here in the province of Saskatchewan. It's something I've spoken about passionately here in this place, and I feel very strongly about it because it's affected a lot of families, but it's affected my family as well. If I just think of how much time and effort and stress was caused by my brother and his family to have to travel to Edmonton and Toronto and Calgary and Philadelphia with my niece Anna, who's doing quite well now, Mr. Speaker, I think of all the stress that could have been taken away. Perhaps not all of it, and everybody's a realist, but it could have been, some of it could have been taken away by having this children's hospital. So I'm very proud that we're opening in October, and I know that it's going to be a good success, and it's unfortunate that we need one, but we're going to use it and help alleviate some of those family stresses. To have a sick child or a child that's not doing well is one thing, and that's enough. That's stress enough on a family. But then to have to pick up the family or leave some of the family at home and have only one parent travel with the sick child it's heartbreaking, Mr. Speaker, and it's hopefully we can alleviate some of that, as well as alleviating having children actually come to the hospital from the northern or the southern parts of the province through the RoboDoc program, which is fantastic and allows a doctor to actually treat the patient right where they're at home, so they don't even have to travel to Saskatoon. And that program with Dr. G and folks over there at the Saskatchewan Children's Hospital is going to make big strides in how we treat our children and hopefully improve the health outcomes of them. Mr. Speaker, in the health budget, we have a bunch of good news, and of course it's never enough, but we're going to make the strides, and we're going to take step by step. So one of the things is a new funding of over $500,000 to support the creation of a provincial organ donor registry, and that work will start now. We hope to launch that registry before the end of this fiscal year. There's also $12 million for a long-term care facility in Meadow Lake with an increased capacity up to 72 beds, and construction is expected to begin in the spring of 2020. Capital funding of $5 million divided between the Weyburn Hospital replacement project and the Prince Albert Victoria Hospital redevelopment project to prepare both proposals to enter the final stages of approval. The budget increases the operating funding to the Saskatchewan Health Authority to $3.6 billion, 3.2% increase from 2018-19, and includes also $23 million increase for doctors, nurses, and staff to start and help staff the Children's Hospital. Individualized funding for children under the age of 6 with autism spectrum disorder will increase from $4,000 annually to $6,000 annually, providing parents with greater flexibility to choose a range of therapeutic interventions and supports for their child. That's health. All right. I've got lots more to say, and so I'm going to say some more. We have to talk about municipal revenue sharing. And I'll end on this, Mr. Deputy Speaker. This year, municipal revenue sharing is up $10 million. And if there's, one thing that I've been passionate about, as well as the Children's Hospital, it's been municipal revenue sharing. And I look back and I remember back in the days before we were able to form government, and it was dismal. There's no other word for it. It was dismal. Cities never knew what they were going to get. My city, Saskatoon, was never sure what they were going to get, if it was $4 million or $7 million or $6 million, and the government of the day just couldn't make a commitment to that. And that, Mr. Speaker, just it caused the municipalities' administration headaches, and nobody knew what the tax increase was going to be, or if there was going to be a decrease, or what they were going to get. And the minister at the time, and I forget his name, but he said, maybe this was 2006. He said, maybe next year we can put a plan together for you. We haven't had a plan this far. Harry Van Mulligan apparently is who it was, and he said, maybe, Mr. Speaker, next year in 2007 we can get a plan together. We'll come up with a plan, or maybe we'll give you a plan in 2007. And Mr. Speaker, they sure did. The people of Saskatchewan sure did get a plan together and elected this government that we have here today. This year, our city of Saskatoon is going to receive $45 million in revenue sharing. $45 million. You're getting it all. That's an increase of over 140% since 2007. So our commitment to our cities are there. Our commitment to the people of Saskatchewan are there. We thank them for the last couple of years in belt tightening and trusting and looking forward with our vision. And so I'll be supporting the budget, and I won't be supporting the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.